Welcome to another episode of The Brand Called You, a podcast and podcast show that brings you leadership lessons, knowledge, experience, and wisdom from thousands of successful individuals from around the world. I'm your host, Ashutosh Garg, and today I'm delighted to welcome an accomplished professional from Stockholm, Sweden, Mr. Gunnar George. Gunnar, welcome to the show.
Thank you very much. Thank you.
Uh, Mr. George is the managing director of Compassion Communication. He's an author, and all of you know I'm very partial to authors. He's an author of a book titled Aha, Wow, Yes, and we'll talk about his book. So, Gunnar, before we talk about compassion, tell me about your own amazing journey in brief.
Okay. I grew up in a small village in Sweden, and I played football every day, more or less.
Mhm.
And then, but I was had easy in school, so I studied a lot, and then eventually I studied at the top business school in Sweden. And
Mm.
then after that, I started to work for a big global company, Ericsson. And
Mm.
my first job was to travel around the world to train customers. And
Amazing.
then, but after a while, I wanted to see more than the telecom industry, and I went into strategy consulting.
Mm.
And then um, I did that have done that for many years now. And last 15 years, I worked a lot with leader development programs.
Mm.
So then I've also been traveling around the world, meeting fantastic people and companies,
Mm.
and yeah.
Wonderful. Wonderful.
Privately, I've married and I have three kids, and they have grown up and left left the house,
Okay.
and I do a lot of mountain climbing, high mountains. That's my passion also.
Amazing. Well said. Thank you. So let's talk about compassion communication in leadership and strategy. What are some of the most significant shifts in global business over the last 2 decades that are impacting leadership and strategy?
Yeah, I would say that the big thing is, I guess, is that China has become the factory of the world. That has
Mm.
changed a lot in strategy and so. And another thing that I think is that from the in the 90s, everybody started talking about shareholder value, and this has
Mm.
just become bigger and bigger. So, and nowadays you measure a lot of things. The accounting firms has become strategy consultants, and that
Mm.
has it has colored a lot of things in business and how you run business. But now also you see the climate change and the focus on sustainability. That is
Mm.
a really big movement in many parts of the world. And I think that has also taken away a little bit, or will take away the focus on shareholder value, and put more on the stakeholder value. So all
Mm.
stakeholders. So I think those are the
Amazing, amazing.
big
Thank you.
things that happen.
And when you work with leaders, and you must have worked with so many leaders, how can leaders most effectively change their mindset and drive transformation?
Yeah, it's a big question.
Mhm.
I think it's first of all the mindset. You have to stop looking at yourself. You have to have an outside in perspective on things. You have to look at the customer. You have to leave your ego out, and also you have to embrace feelings, because transformation is about feelings. It's not mechanical sort of process process that follows a
Mm.
straight line. It's so much feelings, and it's positive feelings, negative feelings, and you really need to embrace that, and not leave it out. And also you need to put in a lot some real visions,
Mm.
and I think that is missing a lot today, the visions, and have
Right,
a dialogue around it. So more
right.
dialogue, more feelings, more visions. That is what
Mm.
I would
Mm.
say. It's
Okay. And how would you navigate the challenges of multicultural teamwork? And you said, your first role was really to go around the whole world training. You must have met many different nationalities, multiple
yeah,
cultures. So how do
yeah.
you navigate challenges of working with a multicultural team?
Yeah, I think you have to talk about it. You have to talk about the differences, everyone thinks that their way is the right way, and you have to sort of let that out in the open, and then I think it's important to have a big common challenge, that so that you have a bigger task in front of you than and build this network of leaders from different countries. Then I think you can. I think there are, in a multicultural team, you need to take the time. Trust takes time, and you need to allow it to take that time. Yeah, and realize that my way is not the only way.
Right, right. That's a very important realization for people to have, and it's difficult, isn't it?
Yeah, because your own way is often yours is so strong. You feel so strong that it is the right way. But it's just we are so different. We are very different in the
Correct.
end.
Correct. And how do you guide leaders in developing and articulating a clear and compelling vision for their companies?
Yeah, then you need to start with the right question. Most companies start with the wrong question, actually, and most consultants too, because they start to say, how do you want our company to look like in 5 years or something like that? But that is the wrong question. You have to go outside of yourself in order to find a really good vision. So you need
Right.
to start with the customer. How do you want the customer experience to be? Or the society, how do we want to, what contribution, how do we want to change the society and so on. So you need to start from outside in. And then I also think can be wise to avoid the word vision, actually, because it's so associated with the slogan. And it's a slogan trap when you work with visions. So they want to be more like creative and find this perfect wording, but it's not the wording on the title that is important. It's more that you have to imagine the future and describe it. So a long description, a story is better often than just a good tagline.
Well said. And over the last, decade, or maybe more so in the last 5, 6 years, technology has made a major entry into most boardrooms.
Yeah.
What role do you see technology playing in shaping future leadership practices?
Okay, I think the new technology will increase transparency a lot. So you have that is one thing that leaders need to be much more prepared for. And also the virtual meetings that we can meet like we do right now over the world, it's has changed a lot in terms of speed and how you interact. But I think the personal meeting is still so important. That's where real things happen. And I think we will see technology trying to copy more and more the personal meetings. But then also you have to realize that just because you can do something with technology is not always the right thing. So you have to sort of select as a leader what technology to use. AI will of course make a huge change in the way it's sort of we're going from search of information to questions. What type of questions? And that will be interesting. Soon we will use AI to find the right questions
Right.
instead of asking them ourselves. So that will be, we don't really know what that will mean. But I think it's also with all the AI and everything that we see, there will be so many fake things and populistic things, and so it this, it will push true leadership into becoming even more authentic and more. You have to show that this is not a machine, and I'm not here just to do it for myself, my own reasons. A leader is someone that takes care of the whole, and people follow, and that will be a challenge in the future. I think you see a lot of focus on that in developing leaders here.
Great response. Thank you. And what strategies do you recommend for leaders to foster innovation within their own companies?
Okay, I think there are a couple of things. Uh, I think most of all to go out, leave your company and leave your country and go out and look. in learning expeditions, look around, talk to different people, different industries, and see how they do it. Build networks, new networks, join new networks, build ecosystems, and but then I also think just it could be good to train all people in systematic innovation, because everybody can be innovative if you just use the right tools. It's a great book called Inside the Box by Drew Boyd that really shows that systematic innovation type of
Right.
approach.
Thank you. My next question is on culture, Gunnar. And my question is, how can leaders build a culture of collaboration and trust in today's incredibly fast-paced world?
Yeah. I mean, that's a big challenge because for me, if you want to have a teamwork and collaboration, trust is everything, and it takes time. In some countries, you do it by working together. In some countries, you do it by having dinners together, and so on. It takes a lot. You have to set aside the right amount of time, even if it's a fast pace. You cannot hurry trust. And I also think you need to work on removing the barriers of trust. And one of the big barriers is the ego, because you don't trust the person with a big ego. That is, and also power is another barrier, because it's very hard to, if it is an unequal power situation, power balance, then it's not about trust, it's more about adaptation. So you need to take away, actually you need to give away some of your power in order to create trust. And that's to give trust to gain trust. I think that is the way forward in that sense.
Well said. And one of the most difficult things for human beings is to give up their ego and give away power, isn't it?
Yeah, exactly. So it's a big challenge. That is one of the biggest challenges, I think, for the future and for leadership.
Yeah. Well,
because we will work so much more in networks and in ecosystems. So that is all based on trust. It's not about sort of sending in lawyers writing agreements and documents. It's about trust.
Right. Well said. And how do you, maybe suggest to leaders on handling resistance to change? Because that's one of the big challenges a lot of leaders face. And I've heard this many times from organization or from leaders that a lot of people say, this is how it happens here. How
Yeah.
do you make a change?
Yeah, there will always be resistance, and some will be active, some will be just passive, and the people will just wait and see if this blows over, so to say. So I think you need to focus on first of all on the informal leaders and get the people with you that other people will follow. And in order to do that, I think you need to have much more dialogue, involve people in the process, talk more about why, for example, why we're doing this. Sometimes you skip that and go just into the what directly, and how. But I also think you need much more inspiration. There's not so much inspiration. Many leaders don't focus on the inspirational part of change. It's more sort of a push, and you have to adapt. And as I said, if you hear the word implementation, you know that it probably will fail. I wrote in my book.
Okay.
I think that is because it's so much about did you have to do this, instead of sort of inspire people to do it and talk about why. So.
And I will come to your book also. But Gunnar, my next question is, how important is emotional intelligence? And emotional intelligence, the word just came into our lives about 25 or 30 years ago. How important is emotional intelligence in leadership development, and how can it be cultivated?
Yeah, I think it's absolutely crucial, and it's because feelings are neglected in business. It's all about numbers today, and so you really need to focus on it, and you need to talk about it. As you said, the title of my book is "Aha, Wow, Yes." That are emotional expressions. Aha for the emotional expression when you learn something. Wow when you get inspired, and yes when you sort of are ready to do something. And I
Mm,
think you need to change the language a bit to bring in the more the emotions into the business.
mm.
And that will be difficult for many people who are
Yeah.
more analysts and numbers persons, so to say.
Mm, mm. Two,
Um,
two more questions, and then I'll want to come to your book. How has your own global experience shaped your own personal growth and your leadership philosophy?
I think I think it has increased my curiosity.
Hmm.
Traveling around the world has just increased my curiosity and increased the openness and compassion. I think that is
Mm,
the way that is my journey. And
mm,
with what we talked about before, my way is not the only way, and it's not so for certain not sort of our common way. So to say, you have to compromise and you have to adapt and so on. So that is
mm.
what I've learned. And also about the inspiration I've talked about. I have a motto that I set up many years ago, and I'm just getting back to it more and more. My motto was or is don't forget to inspire someone today. And I
Wow.
think this with the inspiration is that is something that has been turned stronger and stronger.
Mm,
The, um, the need for inspiration
right,
in different parts of the world. Yeah.
right. Well said. And my next question is, what do you see as the biggest challenge for leaders or for leadership in the next 5 to 10 years?
Yeah, I think the big, I think we talked about AI before, and I
Mm,
think that will change so much. And it will be like an assistant, of course, but how do we use that assistant, and how do we make sure that the human side is still there
mm,
in the leadership? And then I think if you if you go from beyond business to the whole society, I think the world needs to develop leaders that care for the whole world,
mm,
and that is, I think, is one of the biggest questions.
mm,
I thought about it when I wrote my book because there is this classic quote from Einstein that was, if I had the 60 minutes and to find a solution to a problem and my life depended on it, I would use 55 minutes to find the right answer, or
mm.
the right question. And then I had 5 minutes to solve the problem
Wow,
and to
well
find the
said.
answer. And I thought about that when I wrote my book, and
Mm,
what is the right question? And I thought what I ended up with was really this question: with how do we develop leaders that care for the whole world?
mm,
Because you see so much my country first and so on today, and the global challenges we see, we are so interconnected, and we have the same challenge everyone. We need to collaborate. So
right,
that is the biggest
right.
challenge, I think.
Mm, well said. So let's talk a little bit about your book now. You're the author of a book titled Aha, Wow, Yes. And I'm going to ask all our viewers and listeners to go and check out Mr. Gunnar George's book, Aha, Wow, Yes, on Amazon and other platforms. So tell me about your book, Gunnar. What was your inspiration to write the book?
Yeah, first of all, I think it was since I worked so much with leaders and asked them to share their stories and their experiences and learnings, I thought I need to do, and I seen the value of that. That is so powerful, and
Mm,
I felt that I have to do that myself. I think I have had some privileged experiences in my life, and I wanted to share it, but not to give advice, no more,
mm,
just to share my observations and
mm,
learnings. So that was sort
mm,
of the starting point.
mm.
And yeah,
And
and
yeah, go ahead, please.
yeah, I think
Okay.
I have plenty of examples and methods and reflection exercises. So it's a lot of things
Mm,
to that I wanted to share. Yeah.
mm. And you know, your book talks about nine mindset shifts.
Mm.
Uh, Tell me about some of these nine shifts that you talk about.
Yeah, I mean, first of all, there is first of all, we talked about visions before. The first mindset shift that I have in the book is to start with the vision,
Mhm.
because we often start with solving a problem,
Mm,
just near term. But instead, if we can sort of, the more we start with vision, the big question, and then go
mm,
back, the more will happen.
mm,
And And then they have the next three mindset shifts is about aha, wow, yes. Aha is the way we learn and how we make that faster. Third one is about wow. It's about the inspiration, and there I think we need to see it more like a quest, because we cannot wait for inspiration. We have to search for it. We have to find it and use it, because it has a big value that we don't think so much about. So it's within the it's the energy, it's a spark, and it can also be part of the soul of a company or organization. So this type of this so you need to really search for it as a quest. And then you have the yes part is that is more like the change, and I think we need to talk about it as a change movement. Not change management is an old term that is sort of quite old-fashioned now, I think. So it's mechanic, and you need to see it more with emotions and to lead it as a movement. So that the change movement, I think, is the new term we need to adopt.
Right.
So that was just some of them, but then there are a lot of others also, and it ends up with compassion, because I think the final one is about compassion as the cornerstone, and that I think is it is something that really can bridge cultures and the companies and to do good business with customers and so on. I think compassion is the key here.
And you're so right. Compassion is very important in any part of our life, but in business, it is so important. But on that note, Gunnar, thank you so much for speaking to me about your own journey. Thank you for speaking to me about leadership and strategy at such length. I learned many new things from you today about leadership. Thank you also for speaking to me about your book, Aha, Wow, and Yes. Thank you very much for speaking to me, and good luck.
Thank you very much. Thank you.
Thank you for listening to the Brand Called You videocast and podcast, a platform that brings you knowledge, experience, and wisdom of hundreds of successful individuals from around the world. Do visit our website www.tbcy.in to watch and listen to the stories of many more individuals. You can also follow us on YouTube, Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter. Just search for the Brand Called You.